We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan. Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Good evening from Swansea, South Wales, wrestling fans. You are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, and it is a Sunday, and you can bet it's going to be a fun day because we are playing Wrestling Heaven and Hell. But before I explain the rules, let me introduce today's contestants. Let's kick things off with a man who has done a ridiculous amount of podcasts this week, and that is Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I am fired up to be here, no doubt about it. It's Happy Sunday, fun day. We've got a sweet crew. Of course, I have done a lot of podcasts this week, but I'm not upset about it. It's been a fun week of talking wrestling, Ben.
It absolutely has been, and it's been a week as well full of mic mutes, and I did it again right there, and that's sorted this week. But also joining us today, we have, and I don't know if it's her first time playing this game or not, but we have Mary. How are you, Mary?
I'm doing good, Ben. Back for my second Sunday Fun Day, Wrestling Purgatory, Heaven, Hell, and all that jazz. I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let me explain the rules because they are very simple. Both our contestants argue something to be argued. To be argued? What am I on about? Both our contestants argue something that they want to be sent to Wrestling Heaven, then the same thing for Wrestling Hell, and then the same thing for Wrestling Purgatory. Heaven is something good, Hell something bad, and Purgatory is something to be improved. Now, this week's episode has a twist on it, and it is a War Games twist. All ideas need to either be War Games blood and guts, much beyond whatever you want to call it, related. It has to be something to do with that, and I will share both of their arguments. They will then argue against each other, and then after that, I will say who I believe has won today's Sunday Fun Day. But Clark, kick us off. What War Games related thing do you want to send to Wrestling Heaven?
I am going with the original Bloodline War Games. This, in my eyes, was the Sami Zayn coming out party for the WWE in general. Even more, this is where I realized that Sami Zayn is a true main event talent. I think this is what led to logically having Kevin Owens and Sami main event night one of WrestleMania. The match was off the charts. He finally gains Roman Reigns' trust and all of the above. He gets the hug from both Usos. It's one of my favorite War Games matches ever. It's maybe some recency bias, but I'm absolutely going with that one because it was an underrated moment in this rise and ascension of Sami Zayn, which I don't even think is even done yet.
I completely agree with you. It was a brilliant match. I can't remember who it was who was on the face team now.
It was sort of like it was an all-star team of faces. The Kevin Owens dynamic with Sami was key. I actually didn't have the list pulled up. I feel bad. I was trying to get that pulled up if I could. Not to go.
Think of the name.
That doesn't help your argument, Clark. At all. To not know the match you want to put in Wrestling Heaven.
No, I'm trying to remember the other members off the top of my head. I didn't have it pulled up yet. Kevin Owens is very important in that one. Cody Rhodes, all of the above. Yeah, you've got. It's harder to Google than you think, guys. I was recording a really.
You don't even know what match you want. I sent this to you.
I was on a big important show with Ben right before this. I had my list on that show perfectly ready to go. I can't get to it.
Mary, it's a low bar, but what do you want to send to Wrestling Heaven?
I'm gonna keep it more on the blood and guts side. I'm gonna go with the women's blood and guts match from AEW this year. That match entirely, truly, 100%, I think is up there for match of the year. Just entirely as a whole, from start to finish, the intertwined storylines between the two, like from Chris and Mercedes, Willow and Chris, Marina and Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. And if I had to also choose, just Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne just needs to go to wrestling heaven. She is made for blood and guts.
There we have it. A very solid pick, but also a very recent pick as well. I mean, we got Shad in the comments. He's revealed who it was on DCX Waller and Davis as well, talking about it was Kevin, the Brawling Brute, and Drew Clark, who went against the Bloodline in the match you were talking about, Clark.
Right.
But I want to know where you think your pick should be going into Wrestling Heaven over Mary's pick. This is your opportunity now to redeem yourself.
The only reason in my eyes that this one should go over Mary's pick is undoubtedly that it really made Sami Zayn a main eventer. It was the moment he was fully accepted by the Bloodline, and that stole the show in this match. And it was really great storytelling for a War Games type of a concept. I loved the women's blood and guts match, and I agree with you. Megan Bayne was awesome. No spoilers. I'm not going to mention that I said something very similar about 45 minutes ago.
Check out the Wrestling
to be
Republic
completely honest,
podcast
yeah,
tomorrow.
cheap plug, like and subscribe. Thank you guys. But but at the end of the day, that is my argument, is that Sami Zayn becoming a main eventer was such a big deal. I would give that the nod only slightly. And I think recency bias is a part of the reason that it's easy to view the blood and guts matches potentially in the same conversation, but I'm not sure that the blood and guts match will be viewed that well in the future.
Okay, so that's interesting there. So you don't necessarily think that, we mentioned Megan Bayne, you don't think that somebody such as a Megan Bayne is going to become a main eventer because of that match?
I'm trying to win this round, Ben. I think Megan Bayne is a
Gotta
star.
argue it then.
I think Megan Bayne is a star, and don't make me say things I don't want to say. Stop this. You're just trying to bark up the wrong tree here. I'm playing the game, and that's not fun anymore now. No, Megan Bayne's a huge star, and I'll leave it. I rest my case.
He rests his case. Mary, why should the women's blood and guts go in over that Bloodline War Games match?
I mean, for it to be the first true women's blood and guts match, I feel like that alone is just what I feel tops the traditional War Games, Survivor Series, 5-on-5, whatever. Just the fact that the women got their hour to go and really did deliver. Case closed.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we have it. I've heard both arguments. We got a few people in the comments here. We got DCX Warlord saying Sky Blue deserves to be a world champion this year. And of course, we spoke about that match. We spoke about Sami Zayn that made him a main eventer. Will Sky Blue become a main eventer because of that crimson mask she was wearing? The blood which was dripping out of her head in that match. Do you reckon so, Mary?
I 100% agree. She needs a belt. Whether she goes after Mercedes one more time, Chris at some point, maybe if Chris doesn't have the belt within the year, she goes up against whoever defeats her. I'm in. I'm all in. Literally.
Fair enough. Well, before I reveal who has won this round, DCX Warlords says NXT War Games 2019 Team Ciampa versus the Undisputed Era, where Kevin Owens returns to NXT. I mean, that would have been a fantastic shout. Anything Undisputed Era War Games related would have been a fantastic shout. But at the end of the day, I have made my decision. This week's lever is a Hoover. And I'm not sure if I used the Hoover before or not. It's covered in dust from cat fur and all that. It's got a carpet cleaner at the top there. It's very dirty. But I have decided that going into Wrestling Heaven is going to be the first ever women's blood and guts match. Because, look, in reality, I like to joke, but both of you made brilliant points. Both of those matches will be remembered for years and years to come. But, Mary, I liked your argument. So, Clark, you are 1-0 down. Your back is against the wall. It is time to scrap the niceties now.
Just like Sami Zayn, there's a conspiracy against me. There always has been. We know.
And Shad saying, send Clark to Wrestling Hell for flip-flopping. Guys, both of you this round, no holding back. I want you guys to argue your points and to go argue against the other's point, right? This might as well be debate club. Even if you don't necessarily hate their idea, you got to make me believe your ideas are better, okay? So without further ado, Mary, what do you want to send to Wrestling Hell?
If we're debating, let me kick this off with keeping it within the same year, but I'm going into more of the War Games fashion. I'm going with something a little bit different. The timing of the creation of said War Games matches, both of them, both teams should not have been decided within 2 weeks. That match is too special in their eyes to be advertised within less than a month of who's going to be in the match. I know it's everyone's favorite wrestler, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, CM Punk. Going back to kind of what Clark said last time we were on. It's like playing 2K and you're picking your highest rated superstar to be the good guys against the high rated bad guys. It's boring. That's boring. It's too predictable. The timing. It's all on timing, especially for a line of a match being this big and this stipulation. It shouldn't be booked less than a month.
I completely understand what you were saying there. I mean, look, this is meant to be a war. Literally, that's in the name, War Games. And right now, it feels like two teams thrown together because it is that time of the year. But I will defend them because they do have other shows which they have to focus on too, no?
Yeah, but even then, for this particular month itself, it's just Saturday night's main event, and then 1 week, week and a half, 2 weeks, and then we have Survivor Series. They could have built something from Saturday night's main event along. Even if they started there, they could have went from there to at least start teasing War Games. At least not necessarily saying, oh, CM Punk's getting backed up against the wall. Let's get everybody's favorites to come and save him. No, I remember back in the day where we had talent that we don't usually see be in these predicament matches with said stipulation before War Games was even War Games. And I think all on timing and all on who really deserves to be in the match.
Do you think potentially the Seth Rollins injury, though, is what derailed all of this and has made it feel like it's kind of rushed?
150%. I feel like he was supposed to be leading the Vision into War Games against Team Sammy or Team Cody or Team whoever. I mean, it was supposed to be the Vision with Seth as the main guy in charge to go in again at War Games and try to defeat and be unstoppable. And I think him not being around really, it threw everything off. We
got Davis in the comments saying it's like a house show War Games match.
Yeah. It's like, the facts.
Let's just try some stuff.
But Clark, I want to find out what War Games Blood and Guts match beyond thing you want to send Banished to Wrestling Hell.
Oh, have a seat, because I've been waiting on this one. You didn't have to ask me to go all out when it comes to this topic. I'm going to take you back in a quick time machine and give y'all a little bit of a history lesson. 1991, the year your good friend Clark Taylor was born. There was a match at Halloween Havoc. I was about 1 month old, so I did not watch it live, but I watched it after the fact. This is the single worst version of the War Games concept of all time, the Chamber of Horrors match. This included Sting, El Gigante, the Steiner brothers. and they took on Abdullah the Butcher, Diamond Stud, Cactus Jack, and Big Van Vader. There was an electric chair in the center of the ring that was also designed for the finish of this match, given that it was Halloween themed version of the concept. Abdullah the Butcher had Rick Steiner ready to rock, and Cactus Jack is there on the wall with the big lever to pull that electric chair. Rick Steiner, with, you could maybe call it a suplex, maneuvers Abdullah the Butcher into the electric chair. And it takes about 30 seconds, as during this time, Cactus Jack does not turn around and notice that it's actually his teammate in the electric chair. And he pulls the lever. And in one of the greatest sell jobs of all time, fireworks erupted from the said chair. And Abdullah the Butcher shake, rattled, and rolled like you've never seen before in your life, like it was the worst thing that ever happened to him. And after 12 minutes and 33 seconds, the end of the worst War Games match happened. It was over. That was it. The worst first, the worst. It's not even close. It's not even close. And I don't know how you can beat that one. It is the worst iteration of the match ever. There's only one other one that was close, and once Mary didn't say it, I didn't mention that one.
Okay, that's interesting. What is that one, out of curiosity, that's been taken there?
It is that Warrior when the smoke comes out and he comes out through the ring, and then it's
all right, bro.
Not.
I forgot about the Chambers of Horror match. I completely forgot
Yeah.
about it until you mentioned it, but it truly is an incredibly stupid gimmick. But my question for you, Clark, does it class as a War Games match?
It does. Dusty Rhodes said
Okay.
it is the you said any iteration, and that's why I felt comfortable using it. So I felt comfortable using it. Dusty himself has been on record as saying that the Chamber of Horrors learning from that is what actually some of the better War Games matches that they had in the future came from, and that it classifies under the War Games concept.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Well, Mary, no holding back. The gloves are off. Why should your take go into wrestling hell instead of Clark's? You gotta convince me. You gotta tell me why he is wrong and you are right.
I honestly 100% just want to say long-term storytelling should matter. Long-term storytelling should matter. When it comes to extremely special and stipulated matches, long-term storytelling should matter. I mean, don't get me wrong. That Chamber of Horrors, wow. Like we just said, I had to remember that even existed because I was only born in the late 90s, y'all. So I did not really get into familiarity with that until, like Clark said, later in the day. But I have no real big argument against that. That was too good. Blew me away.
Wow. Well, Clark, what about you? What is your argument to make sure you still have a chance of winning this thing? Because right now you're down 1-0, right? You have to win. Otherwise, we're 20 minutes into the show and we already know the result. So you have the next 30 seconds to tell me why Mary is wrong and you are right.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, and Mary said it best herself, storytelling matters. The story going into this match in the first place was about the rivalry between Sting and Cactus Jack. And somehow Cactus Jack takes the time to not look and not realize that he's actually electrocuting his own teammate and costing them the match. It is a gimmick inside of a gimmick. This is gimmickception. This is one of the dumbest things anyone's ever done. In the weirdest way possible. It's just absolutely sad that this was the War Games match that we had in my birth year. I'm embarrassed by that. 91 was a good year for a lot of other things. We had Bulls, Lakers. We had all kinds of great things in sports. Wrestling was going really well on both the WWF and the WCW side. And then they did that. And with pretty good cast of characters here, you know, Braun Breaker's father is the one that can't hook up Abdullah the Butcher at the finish of the match with the leather straps. Like, you can clearly see also the leather strap to the chair is unhooked. Like, Rick Steiner, bless him, he had a great career, but he couldn't even get the leather strap hooked around Abdullah's arm.
I mean, look, you are right. It absolutely sucked. It truly did. But what also sucks is, to Mary's point, the fact that this year's War Games, it feels like it's the timing of the year. That's it. There's no real other story into it. It's all rushed. It's all thrown together and just thrown something at the wall and hoped it would stick. And I don't know if it has stuck, to be completely honest here. But Fernando is actually saying he enjoyed the match, Clark.
Oh, if you're watching from when you're going to watch like a trashy comedy movie standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can
Okay.
understand enjoying that totally, like, because I've definitely watched it and laughed. But
Okay.
but I wouldn't call it like if you're right, like it's like going to a sports bar and you're like, the wings were kind of good, but wow, was the rest of it terrible. Like, it's like,
fair enough, right?
That can make you laugh.
It's time for me to make my decision, because I've heard both of the arguments and I've heard the arguments against each other, and I think that both are worthy of going into Wrestling Hell, but only one of them can go there. And ultimately, Clark, I mean, you did name an absolutely appalling match. There is no denying it. But is that really a War Games match? Because you can argue that Dusty, thought it was. But at the end of the day, is there two rings? No. Are there two cages? No. But it did inspire it. As for your point, Mary, long-term storytelling. I always say story is king. You know that is my mantra. I say it all that time. And for that reason, you could have won. But you didn't argue against Clark's point hard enough. So, Clark, that match, the Chamber of Horrors, is going to Wrestling Hell.
Yay! No, that was good. I'll be 100%.
You guys are being too nice to each other today.
We're friends.
Uh,
It's a West Coast thing. We're laid back.
I need to get them to turn on each other comments, and we are going to do that in this last match.
It's
Because
New Yorkers that yell at each other. We're from SoCal, Ben.
Yeah, we're actually nice.
Oh, darn it. We need to get 2 New Yorkers on it next week. But we are now going to be talking about Wrestling Purgatory. And this is my favorite segment every time we do this show, because it is something from wrestling history which you think had potential, but they messed it up. And let's be honest with ourselves, Stu, when it comes to War Games, when it comes to these match concepts, there's a lot of things which had potential, but didn't quite work out the way that we anticipated or hoped that they would. So in this round, both our contestants are going to say something and how it could have been improved. And then they will argue against each other's. No more niceties, guys, because your arguments against each other could mean you could win or lose this. It all comes down to this round. It's all to play for. Mary, kick us off. What do you want to send to Wrestling Purgatory?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of go into a little bit what I said in the beginning with my Wrestling Hell, but I'm going to keep it more on the little nicer side with War Games. I think the War Games match itself belongs in the Purgatory. It needs to be redesigned, rebuilt, and reclaimed as the War Games mantra that it is. I feel like we're looking now at just 2 big steel cage match, like a jumbo steel cage match. I don't see any extremity to it. I don't see any real big crazy spots besides the EO trash can moment. Or if, not to be mean, if Shane McMahon was there, we'd get a coast to coast that actually hit. No shade to Seth Rollins here, but I feel like we're not seeing as what War Games used to be now, like how it was before. I feel like War Games itself needs a little time in the Purgatory to reestablish what it is. We used to come off of a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match, elimination style, I would rather have that than War Games. That has a lot more excitement coming into it than what the traditional 5-on-5 like eliminator, your favorites, your last, your first. Oh my gosh, it's 4v1. Oh no, it's one versus all. Everyone else got eliminated. Now it's just like I said, it just feels like one big jumbo steel cage match.
Look, that's
Eh.
bold. To put the actual match itself in Wrestling Purgatory, it's bold. But I've said it before in the show, sometimes you need to be bold to win, and that is a hell of a shout. You suggested how you would improve it. You've suggested, to your point earlier, that now sometimes it feels like the long-term storylines aren't really there for this match, and maybe it doesn't really fit the name War Games. Clark, you mentioned on the Wrestling Republic podcast, little bit of a spoiler for tomorrow, guys. Or was it you or Shard? I think it was Shard, sorry. About the fact that AEW's Blood and Guts feels a lot more brutal in comparison to WWE's. Do you think maybe that's what's kind of missing here? It needs to be a bit more like that?
I sincerely think that one of the smartest things AEW has done, especially this year, was literally the timing of AEW Blood and Guts. And I'm not even sure where to give the credit for it. But the timing of it, the brutality, that can't be fault. You have to. We have talked about the timing of putting WrestlePalooza on the schedule. We've talked about the timing of chasing each other, the companies and whatnot. What AEW did, the brilliance of this was they went 2.5 hours. They went a half hour longer than normal. They went about the same length as Raw on a Wednesday, right? And they used basically the same concept as War Games. Put a roof on it. It's a little different. Okay. It was missing a few other things. And it's not going to be easy to follow. If they're the opening band and it's a rock concert over 2 weeks, I wouldn't want to have to play after that. Because the nature also is it can't be that violent. But this didn't seem distastefully violent, especially the women's match. The men's match, a little bit, the Darby on Fire, okay. No, right.
Oh gosh, I mean, fair enough. We do talk more about that match on tomorrow's Wrestling Republic's podcast. But Fernando says War Games must not be every year. It should be used to settle personal feuds and not any feud. A tamed and safe War Games is lame. Either make it more violent or scrap it for good. Well, I said, Clark, Mary's made a very bold take here, very bold indeed. So what is your strategy going to be? How are you going to respond to that? What are you going to send to Wrestling Purgatory?
I am sending to Wrestling Purgatory the Shark Cage. And hear me out on this one, my friends, because the Shark Cage has had some positives. From a storytelling perspective, it's worked numerous times. We've seen the Roman Reigns spot with Punk. We've seen the Roman Reigns spot in there with the Usos and Sammy and whatnot. We've seen all of those. It doesn't have to be every match, though. The Elimination Chamber is unique in the standing in the chamber thing. And what are we trying to prevent every single time where people are standing in a shark cage? Like, are we afraid that they're going to run away from the match because it's too violent? Are we afraid that competitors are going to bail last minute so we have to cage them? Are we afraid they're going to be attacked along the way? There's a lot of stories that you could tell there. That's not what we're doing. We're just showing camera angles. Liv Morgan made it, not her fault, didn't know about the hot mic, made a heck of a mistake inside of the shark cage with what she very clearly said and the audio very clearly picked up. It's, to me, the entrance music hitting for the next superstar involved in a match like this should be focused on further. And that's where I'm in purgatory with it, because there's been enough positives, but there's been an equal amount of negatives. And so there has to be sort of a solution. Maybe utilize that for a storyline reason at times, but I would keep it away from the match concept every single time, because you're robbing us of the pops for the entrance music.
An interesting shout. It truly is, and a good shout at that, because to your point, I mean, we saw it last year. You have all these guys. Some of them aren't even friends. Some of them we see for weeks and weeks and weeks, don't even want to team together. And then suddenly they are all like shoulder to shoulder with each other in a small space. That is very interesting, and a very interesting shout indeed. And honestly, both you guys have made brilliant points. And that is why this next part, it's going to be important, because like Fernando Zaya says in the comments, it's time to take the gloves off, right? You guys are now going to have to argue hard against the other person. You need to make it clear why your take belongs in Wrestling Purgatory and theirs does not. Mary, kick us off. Why does Clark's not belong in Wrestling Purgatories and yours does?
Well, since I am a nice gal, I'm going to say it's simple. That was a great take. That was in my big old noggin somewhere. It was either the match or the cage. The match or the cage. Why does the shark cage feel more fun than the actual match? You get what I'm saying? Why does the shark cage moments get more spotlight than what's actually going on in the match? Is the match that boring? I think so. And I think that's why War Games needs to be redesigned, rebuilt, and reclaimed as a violent, like Fernando said, like a violent match. I mean, yes, we have Elimination Chamber for that, but even then, I feel like Elimination Chamber should go in that, should be right next door, right next to it in the Purgatory. None of those stipulation matches anymore feel as entertaining. And I don't like to say that word. It is entertaining to some extent. When we have an entire match based on frenemies just hanging out in a shark cage, the match should not be happening anymore. We should not have that match anymore. If we're focused on who's in the match, I feel like the people involved would actually get the pop that it deserves, rather than just, oh, what's Roman and CM Punk doing inside the shark cage? No. Let's look at the match, yes? That's all I'm saying.
Mary, I was wondering for a second where you were going there when you were being nice about Clark's take, but then to divert it, to support your own argument, very well done indeed. DCX Warlord saying Mary is quoting redesign, rebuild, reclaim by Downstate.
Seth Rollins. I don't know if Seth Rollins has ties with Downstate.
Yeah,
but
Downstate did a remixed version of it.
Since he, I feel, is solely responsible for this match to feel as underwhelming as it is, that's why I keep quoting him.
How is it his fault? How is it his fault?
Well, you know what then? The injury bug. The injury bug should be in the Purgatory too.
Yes.
That's why
the injury
match
bug
is
needs
getting
to go to wrestling hell.
I think we can
Yeah,
all agree on
banished.
that.
Because injuries happen, yes. We can't avoid them. But unless they're done yourself, that's all. But
well, Clark, you're in a tough position here. But why should a shark cage be sent to Wrestling Purgatory over the entire War Games concept in the way we know it now?
I do not believe that War Games itself should go away in any way. I don't think it needs to be fully redesigned, because there's a singular problem, and it's the shark cage. The shark cage aspect puts too much pressure on that in the early moments of the match, and we don't get a wrestled match. What we saw on Blood and Guts on Wednesday night with Tekla climbing out of the cage, the cleverness in all of those things, we are not focused on who's standing at the top of the ramp and not inside of the ring covered in blood. This match is supposed to be violence. It starts with war. It starts with war. War doesn't happen where you let a bunch of people out of a cage. That's a joke. Why are we doing that? Why did we combine Monsters Ball with War Games in the first place? This needs to go to Purgatory, because the War Games concept isn't a problem, but the Shark Tank is. Shark Tank needs to be moved elsewhere unless it actually makes sense. When they're all friends, but there's a little bit of tension, okay, it works. but it does not benefit the storytelling. It does not benefit the in-ring performance. You could not take your eyes off of either Blood and Guts match on AEW this week on Wednesday. And I do believe that the WWE needs to take a page out of that book, get rid of the Shark Tanks, bring back the entrance music for the next wrestler entering, and provide the time to enjoy that as fans, because these matches are 40 minutes long these days. At times, a half hour, 60 minutes, depending on the one, depending on how it's booked and where. The Shark Cage is the precipice of one of the problems. There is too much focus in the first half of the match on the cage itself, especially via camera work.
Okay. Well, you both made really good arguments. And before I summarize, I want to go to the comment section, because DCX Warlord says War Games died when Pat McAfee competed in War Games, and that Liv and Seth's injuries were probably the reason for this year's War Games teams not being that good.
I can hear a little bit of that.
And Lewis says maybe not hit moves that are not in your wheelhouse, in response to Seth Rollins getting injured. No, guys, come on. You can't blame Seth Rollins for that.
Monster shout out Luis, though, no doubt about it.
Wrestlers have to use stuff which is not in their wheelhouse at times to, do cool spots, and sometimes they just don't end well. But I do have my lever, my Hoover covered in dust and cat fur. Boy, oh boy, does this thing need emptying out. But I am going to summarize, because, Clark, at the end of the day, I have actually come around a lot to your way of thinking with this Shark Cage, because you are right, it is a distraction. Yes, there are some cool moments, but at the same time, it does take your eyes away from what's going on inside of the War Games match itself. But then, to Mary's point, is that the fault of the War Games match itself? Is what's going on in the ring not entertaining enough? Are there not enough weapons? Is it not violent enough? Have they made this match too PG? And that is very interesting, but also it's why it's making my job a little bit hard here, because the more I think about it, the more I think there's also a lot about this War Games match which does work. There are things of it which I think work well, and at the end of the day, it's a different audience to AEW. AEW has an older audience. It's more of a hardcore audience. The fan base is called the sickos, whereas the WWE fans, a lot of them won't have watched AEW Blood and Guts. For a lot of people, that might be too violent. So maybe for its purpose, the WWE War Games match makes sense, apart from the Shark Cage, which brings me back once again to Clark's point. And for that reason, you guys are making my job very, very difficult. But I have decided, ultimately, that sometimes little things can be argued easier than big concepts. It is an easier argument to make, and that is why, Clark, I think it was an incredibly smart choice what you did. And that is why I have come to my final decision. And my final decision is that history always favors the bold. Mary, I am sending the entire War Games concept to Wrestling Purgatory. Well done, you are this week's winner. How are you feeling?
First win, let's go. I'm gonna do my emote. That's exciting. Yay. Being bold paid off for once. Yay.
Oh my
I'm not even
God.
mad. I'm fired up. Mary earned
That's
it.
hype.
No doubt. It was a good
That's
one
hype.
too. At the end, like that, it was funny because we were sort of arguing similar concepts. So I was
Exactly.
trying to look for like one thing to disagree with. Right. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like I got to bank in on sort of like,
When you said the Shark Cage, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, stop reading my mind. You're
oh
freaking
no,
me
that's
out.
a good one.
Because I didn't want to focus just on the Shark Cage, because it's like I said, it's the match. Why is that's a part of it? Why is
Yeah.
the Shark Cage a part of the match? It shouldn't be. So if Ben gave it to you, I would have not been mad at that at all.
Oh,
I would have not been mad.
Well, there we are. We had a very friendly episode, but sometimes on a Sunday, you just need a fun day. And that's what this was. It was fun. It was mostly friendly, but I hope you guys found it very, very entertaining. Congratulations to Mary, and we will be back the same time, same place tomorrow to answer your questions, your hot takes for Mailbag Monday. Plus, tomorrow morning, don't miss it, the Wrestling Republic weekly podcast will be released. Me, Clark, and Shad talk about Blood and Guts compared to War Games. We talk about the entire Zack Ryder situation. We talk about the Mike Santana TNA situation as well. Definitely not an episode you want to miss. But again, thank you to today's winner, Mary, and thank you to today's runner-up, Clark. We will see you guys same time, same place tomorrow.